Stop the presses. We have achieved peak Canadian irony. You know the drill, your city is unlivable. Rents are basically a second mortgage. Everyone, politicians, planners, that one neighbor who won't stop talking about zoning, is screaming that we need more housing. We need density. We need to build, baby, build. But here in Surrey, British Columbia, the mayor has looked at the crisis, nodded sagely, and declared, you know what would solve this? Tearing down the housing that already exists. I'm not joking. They are actively, enthusiastically, and legally setting property owners on the fast track to bankruptcy by demolishing illegal rental units in a market that has a 1.6% vacancy rate. Wait. What? This isn't a mistake, this is a policy masterclass in self-sabotage, and the results are catastrophic. If you enjoy watching the rich get ruined by bureaucracy and the government making the absolute worst decision at the worst time, you need to be here. Hit that subscribe button right now and ring that bell. You won't find a better front row seat to the unfolding real estate apocalypse. Now, let's unpack how Surrey went from housing crisis to housing demolition festival. The Mayor's office in Surrey, 2025, has just issued what amounts to a declaration of war on its own residents, proudly announcing the most aggressive enforcement campaign in municipal history. We're talking 3 court-ordered demolitions this year alone, that's 3 entire structures that were housing people, now scheduled for obliteration. They've slapped notices on title, the scarlet letter of the real estate world, across 13 separate properties, which is a polite way of saying those homes are now financially toxic waste. And just for a little extra spice, they've issued north of $50,000 in fines against the homeowners who had the audacity to build units without asking permission first. The sheer, glorious devastation is perfectly timed. Because, as we established, Metro Vancouver needs housing like a fish needs water. The rental vacancy rate is laughably low, and Surrey's own report states they need a soul-crushing 169,221 new homes over the next 20 years. So naturally, the city's response is to take existing rental units and turn them into piles of dust, while threatening the property owners with financial annihilation. Truly genius-level crisis management. The mayor's zero-tolerance policy isn't just about collecting fines, it's about exposing a hidden, clandestine economy of housing that was hiding right under our noses. This is the secret world inspectors found when they finally lifted the lid. They discovered what looked like rustic, innocent barns that were actually secretly converted into 5-unit apartment buildings. They found single-family homes that had been illegally and cynically chopped into 8 separate rental dwellings. And they found carports, yes, your basic parking structure, converted into living quarters where whole families were desperately trying to raise their kids. This wasn't minor paperwork, this was an act of architectural piracy. Take a look at 16255 60 Avenue. Innocent barn outside, 5 complete, fully kitted out apartments inside. Bedrooms, kitchens, bathrooms, appliances, all completely functional, all completely illegal. Or how about 16835 26th Avenue? They were hiding an 8-unit apartment complex right there in the backyard. City solicitors reviewing their file called it, and I quote, essentially an unauthorized multifamily complex generating substantial rental income. Let's be crystal clear, these weren't mistakes. These were deliberate construction projects meticulously designed to bypass every single permit, code, and safety rule, all for the singular goal of maximizing cash flow. This begs the ultimate, cynical question: have you noticed a new barn show up in your neighborhood that feels a little too dense? Or are you, perhaps, watching this from a suspiciously affordable basement suite right now? The truth is, this issue is far more widespread than the city wants to admit, and the comments section is the perfect place to drop your own observations, because this affects every corner of the housing market. The crackdown didn't happen overnight, but when Surrey finally decided to care, they went for maximum impact. The action started in April 2022 with the launch of the city's illegal construction enforcement team. They showed they were serious by doubling their fine to a beautiful, painful $1,000 per day per infraction. They hired dedicated inspectors whose only job was to play the world's most expensive game of hide-and-seek. By 2024, the results were predictable. the city was flooded with over 2,000 complaints annually, forcing the city to realize that the only way to solve this was to take the fight to the courtroom. Between July 2024 and November 2025, they held 8 special council meetings that resulted in those dreaded notices on title being directed at 24 property owners. And that notice on title? It's the closest thing real estate has to an instantaneous, terminal illness. It's a permanent, public warning label affixed to the property title, alerting every single party that serious, unresolved violations exist. The moment a bank sees this during a title search, they refuse the mortgage faster than you can say unauthorized plumbing. Insurance companies either cancel the policy or deny coverage for damages caused by the illegal work. And your property value? It doesn't just fall, it craters, because only a complete idiot would willingly inherit someone else's incredibly expensive legal liability. The scale of the homeowner's ingenuity, though, is almost commendable. At 9397 132 Street, bylaw officers counted 10 illegal bedrooms spread across 7 unauthorized dwellings. And despite stop work orders and fines compounding daily, the owners just kept collecting the rent. Why stop a good hustle? Over at 9040 Sky Place in Wall-E, a single-family dwelling was completely gutted and rebuilt internally, creating 8 rental units. Again, not a cozy laneway house skirting the edges of the law, this was a wholesale property conversion, transforming a single-family home into an apartment building. City records reveal the dark reality. At the converted barn at 16255 60 Avenue, every unit was photographed fully occupied in August 2025, with tenants living in spaces that had never been checked for structural integrity, fire codes, or whether the electrical wiring was actually going to burn the building down. Assistant General Manager Shaw Simpson, the city's grim reaper of illegal construction, explained the city's delightfully clear escalation path: violation notice, daily compounding fines, stop work order, and finally, a court petition seeking a demolition order. They issued 73 bylaw enforcement notices across their worst properties. One property, 16835 26th Avenue, received 23 separate notices, racking up fines plus inspection fees. Simpson noted that once the Section 57 notice is registered, the liability is permanently baked into the property, making it virtually unsellable unless the owner pays to fix or demolish the violation. 3 court cases really tell the story of the homeowner's spectacular failure to read the room. First, meet Jagman Singh Saidu and Gagan Deepep Kaur Saidu, who built an illegal extension and laneway house. Their husband, a realtor, should have known every single rule perfectly, yet he had the magnificent audacity to argue in BC Supreme Court that demolishing his illegal units would be wasteful, given Metro Vancouver's housing crisis. He literally used the government's own pro-housing policy to justify breaking the law. Justice Gib Carsley rejected this beautiful argument, ruling the violations were flagrant and deliberate. They lost their gamble, and the court ordered the demolition of everything built without authorization. Next, there were Gurdep Singh Otal and Tadender Otal, whose backyard contained the 8-unit profit machine. City Solicitor Guillermo Flores openly called the project clearly profit-motivated. They faced fines, and Flores confirmed the brutal truth: there was no realistic path to getting permits retroactively because the structure violated too many fundamental requirements. Demolition was the only legal option, and the court agreed. Finally, Sukhdev Singh and Kashmir Singh Sahad converted their home into an unauthorized fourplex and were found in contempt of court for ignoring an injunction. The judge fined them $6,000 immediately, with a $13,000 fine hanging over their heads, plus legal costs. And their defense? They admitted they never thought enforcement would go this far and pointed out that many other people in Surrey were doing exactly the same thing. That, my friends, is the sound of a gamble gone fatally wrong. That last, pathetic defense, everyone else is doing it, reveals the true scope of the crisis. For years, building illegally was a calculated, winning risk. The city estimates that between 70% and 80% of all secondary suites across the region are non-compliant. A 2015 Vancouver report found that only 27% had proper permits. Enforcement was so rare that illegal building became the profitable norm, and property owners were practically trading insider tips on which neighborhoods the inspectors wouldn't bother visiting. From a pure return on investment standpoint, this was financial genius. Now, Surrey is responding with the precision of a military operation. Director Jas Johal's system processes 2,000 to 2,500 complaints every year. His team conducts surprise visits, issues stop work orders, and spends time building bulletproof legal cases that can survive court. Their fine structure is a thing of beauty, if you enjoy watching people suffer financially. Base fines are up to $1,000 per day per infraction, and since most properties have multiple violations, the daily bill can hit several $1,000s. Every site visit is a $223 inspection fee. The Offence Act allows fines up to $50,000 per offence, and contempt of court adds thousands more. On top of that, the owners pay all the city's legal costs and the full bill for the eventual demolition. The city is armed with its nuclear option, the Section 57 Notice on Title, which is registered in the Land Title Office to warn absolutely everyone that the property is tainted. Banks won't touch it, insurance companies run screaming. The mayor confirmed in July 2025 that none of the notices have been removed. This isn't just about fines. Demolition orders literally force property owners to spend tens of thousands of dollars to tear down the structures they built with their own money. The financial calculation has flipped. A property owner who spent $80,000 on an illegal suite could now face $150,000 in demolition costs, fines, and legal fees. Their profit center just became a guaranteed financial disaster. And here's where the policy whiplash becomes magnificent. While Surrey is busy destroying illegal housing, the province is trying to bribe people to build legal suites. Bill 44 legalized secondary suites across BC, and BC Housing offers up to $40,000 forgivable loans to homeowners who create compliant rental units. The government is literally paying people to create the housing Surrey is simultaneously removing. This is a policy contradiction so severe it should probably come with a helmet. Now, let's talk about the human cost beyond the property owner's tears. When the illegal suites are shut down, where do the tenants, low-income families, students, and newcomers go? Into a 1.6% vacancy market with their fingers crossed. One tenant from a previous crackdown, paying $750 for his basement suite, told reporters that if his rent went up by $50, he'd be living on peanut butter and jelly. James Arbualber, an owner, perfectly captured the tension. He said there's a certain irony that instead of focusing on housing Surrey families, the city focuses on setbacks and parking rules. Tenant advocates rightly point out that illegal suites are often the only affordable option, and removing them is effectively forcing vulnerable people into homelessness or out of the region entirely. The city's defense is predictably rigid: safety trumps supply. Building Division Director Trevor Welsh says ensuring homes are safe and healthy must come first. Officials cite terrifying research that claims unpermitted work is 6 times more likely to result in serious injury or death than permitted work. They found fire hazards from improperly installed wiring in the converted barn and zero fire separation in the 8-unit backyard complex. Safety is a genuine concern. But critics point out that an internal 2024 Surrey memo admitted the city's own 10-week permit backlog directly incentivizes building illegally. By imposing rules that make legal construction prohibitively slow and expensive, the city is essentially creating the affordability problem, then punishing the people who tried to solve it in their own chaotic way. For the 13 properties with the Section 57 notice, the options are bleak: pay over $100,000 to try and legalize construction that might have cost $50,000 originally, or face demolition. The owners of the converted barn and the 8-unit building have already been told, demolition is expected. No realistic path exists for retroactive permitting because the structures violate too many fundamental codes. Some owners are beginning the long, costly compliance process. Others are simply giving up, selling their properties at 20% to 30% discounts to desperate buyers willing to take on the mess. Most mortgage lenders won't touch these properties, forcing buyers to pay cash or use hard money loans with predatory interest rates. Surrey's demolition spree is one municipality's brutal, unwavering answer to a province-wide dilemma. They are willing to pursue property owners through years of court battles, obtain demolition orders, and permanently scar property titles, even if it removes much-needed affordable rental housing from the market. The fundamental tension between safety, profit, and supply is unbreakable. Property owners act rationally on financial incentives. The city acts rationally on safety concerns. And tenants act rationally on housing affordability. The entire system is breaking down, and you can see the same cracks appearing right next door in Burnaby's condo market, where prices are crashing, major towers are collapsing into receivership, and hundreds of millions are owed. That video breaks down exactly how the spectacular failure of Burnaby's market is connected to Surrey's demolition war. Are you ready to see the other half of Metro Vancouver's financial self-destruction?